Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF World Champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 273 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. It's the first episode of 2021. I'm joined by, we're kicking off the year doing things big. I'm joined by the former heavyweight world title challenger. Eddie, you're back with me, man. Another year.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How are you,
man? We're gonna go. I'm good, my man. We're gonna go strong in 2021.
Absolutely.
We're gonna be pushing. We're gonna be pushing for a lot. A lot.
Absolutely. Like I say, we're gonna start with the review part of the show. Then we're gonna welcome our sole guest, which will be the former IBF Super-Middleweight world champion, Mr. Caleb Truax, as he prepares to take on Caleb Plant at the end of the month for the IBF Super-Middleweight world title. Truax trying to win back his belt, and Plant trying to land a big fight, perhaps with Canelo at some point in this year. Anyway, we'll be speaking to him very, very shortly after the review part. Then after that, we're going to sign out the show with Eddie's Lockdown Knockdown. That's how we're kicking off 2021. Oh yes, I think it's been quite a while. I think it was back in October the last time we did it, and it was it was about the Wladimir Klitschko fight, the world title opportunity where you had to travel to Europe. And this is the first fight back from that, so we're going to get into that in due course. But anyway, the review part, we're going to start here on New Year's Eve, Thursday the 31st of December. We're going to go out to Tokyo, Japan. One fight to mention over there, Kazuto Ioka. 26-2 now, a TKO for him in his fight against Kosi Tanaka. It was really a hardcore type of fight, I guess, for the hardcores. But he managed to get the win there, Ioka, and I think it's quite impressive, really, because Tanaka is a very exciting fighter, a young guy still as well, only 25, but a TKO there in the 8th round for Ioka. Definitely, I feel like his experience showed there for sure. That was it for that one there. The other fights to mention, let's just go straight into it, I guess. At the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas, USA. This one was on Saturday the 2nd of January. I'm going to start with the undercard, I think. Yeah, let's start with the undercard. Felix Alvarado, he defended successfully his IBF World Light Flyweight title against DJ Kriel of South Africa. Kriel was down in the 2nd and 4th round, and he was out. He was TKO'd in the 10th. Brave effort from Kriel. Now 16-2 with a draw. Felix Alvarado, man, relentless pressure. Very exciting fighter. Now 36-2. Kriel is a guy who, is quite a cool guy, to be honest with you, because he was the IBF minimum weight world champion, and he, I think, had the opportunity to defend his world title for I don't know how many $1,000 or whatever. He's from South Africa, like I say. He was offered, some money for defending his minimum weight world title, but then he was offered even more money to move up in weight and box for the light flyweight world title. So he did that basically, and he came up short, unfortunately. Also on the card, his Felix Alvarado's brother, Rene Alvarado. Huge upset in my eyes, man. You never really know what you're going to get with Rene Alvarado. Alvarado, but he was down twice in the third round and once in the 12th and final round, and he lost a very, very, very close decision over 12 to Roger Gutierrez. Roger Gutierrez, the Venezuelan fighter, now 25-3 with a draw. Rene Alvarado there loses his WBA super featherweight world title, and like I say, it's a big upset for me because he only lost it on the scorecards by 1 point on all three judges' scorecards. So bear in mind, he was down 3 times in the fight. He still only lost by 1 point. So it was a very close one, despite the knockdowns. All three judges had it exactly the same. Unbelievable for Roger Gutierrez, who really has kind of come out of nowhere off the back of that, if you like. You know, he had a couple of back-to-back losses back in 2018, one to Hector Tanahara, a young prospect still undefeated, and he actually had a loss himself to Rene Alvarado. Rene Alvarado took his O back in 2017, but here he was 3 or 4 years later getting his revenge, and now he's world champion, so that's amazing for him. But the main event, the main talking point for the interim WBC lightweight world title, Ryan Garcia, 21-0 now, a TKO for him against our man Luke Campbell, who is now 20-4, a TKO in the 7th round for Garcia, but he was down himself in that second round. I'm not going to break it down first, Eddie. I'm going to give you the pleasure of that. What did you make of young Ryan Garcia's performance against the old veteran Luke Campbell, who perhaps might have just missed the boat really in terms of his pro career? I think he's about 33, something like that now. I don't think it's going to happen for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, man, it's one of those things. It's hard at that age, even though that's really not old, but even at that age, especially in the lower weight classes, to get that title shot as it go. I mean, to get that title, late on. It's a little bit harder because you don't get faster, obviously, as you get older. Your skills and things continue to sharpen and you continue to learn, but the reflexes don't get better as you get older. So it's kind of hard to hope to be able to compete. But I will say that I feel like I underestimated what he was capable of when I seen him in there. I was like, damn, he could fight. Like, he is clearly beyond what I thought. I thought he was a good fighter and be a good test for Garcia, but regardless of whether I picked the right thing to happen, that he was going to stop him mid to late or whatever, I still feel like look, one or two things happen differently. Maybe he doesn't get caught with that great shot that he got caught with and get, maybe as they go further into the fight, maybe he gets back into the fight where maybe Garcia gets a little tired because he was throwing heavy shots constantly throughout the fight. So it could have happened. But Luke Campbell showed a lot. He showed me a whole hell of a lot. And it's a shame that he's come around at this point where, you got Tank, you got freaking Teofimo Lopez, you got Lomachenko coming from down there, then you got Ryan Garcia, you got Devin Haney. There's a lot of real serious talent that's around the area, so it's kind of rough on him. And to think that he would, it's great because if you can beat those guys, then you're obviously the man. But when you're just right on the cusp of being, one of the greats, it's kind of tough, man. So he's in a rough spot. But throughout the fight, man, it looked like he was really testing Garcia. Like, he wasn't in there messing around. And the shots he was throwing, smart shots. He was setting them up nice for the straight right hand to the straight left hand, to the body. And then coming over the top with the straight right, with the straight left. But then he even curled it. He even threw the hook in left. You know what I'm saying? And caught him perfectly. And it wasn't no flash knockdown, to be quite honest. It wasn't one of those knockdowns where the guy goes down like, damn, I got caught with some stupid shot. And he was actually like, oh, like his arm got caught behind him. Like it was a legitimate, serious knockdown. Like he could have been in real trouble. You know what I mean? But credit to Garcia, he got up and actually finished okay. You know what I mean? He didn't look terrible, but you can see that Luke Campbell was still, like, even as the fight was going on, I felt like Garcia was winning the rounds and he was showing his speed and his and the explosive power that he had. But I feel like Luke Campbell was right there. He was, it was just certain little things was happening. I like he kept going back to that shot, that hook and right, and caught him a couple more times with it. And it was just like, and even through some of the straight rights, straight left hands to the body that were landing nice too. I mean, he was doing really, really well. You know what I mean? His jab on the southpaw side was looking really, really good at times. Just in general, I mean, just the whole thing. You know what I mean? He really, really gave Garcia the test that he needed, I think, to now say that he's of the elite class. Like, I mean, it was questionable early. I mean, beforehand, because obviously he didn't have the resume that a lot of the other guys who were elite have, But now with having a guy like Luke Campbell on his record and him actually showing up and actually being the kind of test that he needed, man, it was great. It was great. It was a great night of fighting. I mean, well, for the main event in anyway. I didn't get a chance to see much of the rest of it, to be honest. But man, it was good. It was a nice night. That body shot, though, oh my gosh, the shot that he caught Luke Campbell with, man, it's just like I could see, like, most people were like, oh, he gave up, he bottled, he didn't get up, he didn't. Listen, with those kind of shots, if he could have got up, he would have got up, because he was trying to win that fight. That body shot was just perfect, well timed, and right at the point. And you could see that he put his hands up. It was kind of like a cardinal sin in boxing. Put your hands up high to block a shot to the head. You're supposed to bend and take it on the glove, And man, he caught him perfect right there, and it just dropped him right to his knees. He couldn't even get up. He went from one knee to two, and to his hands on the ground, and it was over. But it was an awesome fight. Credit to Ryan Garcia. I hope to see these big fights now with him included in this 135-pound division, man. I want to see it take off.
Yeah, brilliant assessment, by the way, Eddie. I really like everything you said there. But, yeah, very impressive, highly impressive from young Ryan Garcia, becoming the first man to stop Luke Campbell. And, yeah, you're right, the finishing shot where he kind of did what, his gym mate does, Canelo, where he looks like he's going to throw a left hook upstairs and then he switches the direction of it in a split second. But, yeah, the first round for me was an exciting round. Garcia obviously was on the front foot for the whole round for me. Luke seemed to be kind of happy to sit in that counter-punching stance. Garcia, for me, won the round. He looked very, very sharp. He showed good variety in his shots. Campbell did land a nice short right hand through... I think towards the end on the inside. Second round, obviously, as you touched on, down went Garcia, and amazingly, he didn't look overly hurt for me. I mean, Luke jabbed him to the body, like you said, Eddie, and then came upstairs with that huge left hook. And when I saw the replay at the end of the round, it actually looked like a much better shot than I initially thought it was. And Garcia was probably winning the round in all fairness, but yeah, perhaps he got a little bit overconfident and he got hurt. But he showed some great powers of recovery, thrilling stuff through the first two. Round three, Garcia really upped the pressure in the third. Great response from being on the canvas. Luke still had success with the jab to the body and the left hook over the top, but the left hook over the top, but his success was few and far between. Round four, Garcia was looking so much flashier, again, really showing that confidence, really putting it on Luke Campbell. Campbell started to invest in the body again with the 1-2, sometimes both shots even to the body, but he wasn't winning rounds. But still, I didn't think he was taking too much out of himself. I quite liked what Luke was doing. It was smart at that point. Round five, more of the same from Garcia. He was starting to smother Luke Campbell. Luke Campbell got caught as well with a temple shot, a left hook from Garcia. And to be honest with you, Luke Campbell looked gone. It was the last punch of the round there in the fifth. And yeah, he had his back turned, he was on the ropes, possibly the ropes even held him up, and one more shot, by the way, I think he'd have been out of there asleep. He was in real trouble there. I hoped that the minute between the rounds would be enough for him to recover. Round six, Garcia came out all guns blazing straight away, seeing if Luke hadn't fully recovered, but I think he quickly learned that Luke wasn't ready to go just yet, and he calmed his attack down. He won the round though, Garcia. And then of course the seventh and final round, a round I thought Campbell Campbell was winning, and then towards the end of that round, Garcia ripped in that big left hook into the right side of Campbell's ribs, right on the sweet spot. Campbell, as you said, put his guard up as it landed, so it was perfectly timed, right underneath the elbow, and Campbell took a knee and stayed down. I'm not gonna, as you said, if he could have got up, he would have. There's no quit there, no questions of quitting for me. He was grimacing, and it's a brilliant win for Garcia. More impressive than Lomachenko's win over Campbell or Linares' win over Campbell, and he's answered the gut check question as well. He's got heart, this kid. He got up and he won, and I was just thoroughly impressed. And off the back of that, a lot of people are saying that they fancy him over Devin Haney if that were to happen. And to be honest with you, I can understand why you'd say that now. It is that's going to be the lightweight division is on fire, man, but I'm just repeating things you said. It was brilliant. But that's it though for the review part. There is a couple of pieces of news to mention, but before we get into that, I'm going to tell you this, Eddie. I decided I found a place today, and I've forgotten what their actual name is called. It's a food place. They're not sponsoring us, but but I went and got some food from them. Yeah, no. And they're called something like the Brooklyn Style Pizza something. I don't know. Brooklyn Style Pizza Crew, I think they are. The Brooklyn Pizza Crew, something like that. It's a place in Fulham in London, not too far from where I am. And yeah, it's like, New York style pizza. So I was thinking, okay, let me see what this is about. Oh my Lord God! I mean, I know that the pizza slices out there are humongous, but how many inches is like a regular pizza out there? Do you know?
Like a regular size pizza, like I said, that all really depends. But normally it's I think it depends on the pizza, the size of pizza. Because you get a large one, some people have what 10 or 8, a 10-inch or so. You know what I mean? It all depends on the size of the pizza.
Yeah.
Like I said, for a normal large would be like 10 or so.
Yeah.
And a small, like a medium slice would be about 8.
Yeah.
I think an 8-inch cut, you know what I mean? Something like that. So what were they popping off with over there?
Okay, so
I'm interested in that.
So I'm the same as that, they kind of say like a personal, really small pizza would be about 7-inch. Then there'd be an 8-inch or a 9-inch for a medium. Then a large would be about a 10 to 12-inch. And I think one time I had maybe a 15 or 16-inch pizza. Anyway, this one, 20-inch pizza.
Whoa, what the hell?
I swear, 20 inches. It was like I was taking a television back in my car. It was huge, man. And I couldn't eat it all.
Crazy.
I've still got it here behind me. I didn't even eat half of it, and that was it. Like that's my full day.
Yeah.
I didn't have any breakfast today, no lunch, no dinner or anything like that. That was all I've eaten, and I couldn't even eat half of that pizza. It was unbelievable.
That's what I'm saying. With that kind of thing, with those kind of things, you can't eat breakfast or lunch. You can only eat dinner with that, or eat that for every meal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's my food for tomorrow as well, sorted out, I think. But anyway, they're okay. It reminded me a little bit.
Sounds like it's okay, Joe.
No, it reminded me a little bit of New York, the pizza out there, but they've managed to kind of get it right when you. Because there's nothing like that over here, man. You get a slice of pizza over here, you can easily pick it up with one hand. But these slices here, it's like you need like 2 hands, man. It's huge,
2 hands and help. It's like, damn. Or you know what? Because there's a place over here. It's called the Sparrows. I can't remember. But it's a good pizza restaurant I used to go to since I was a kid. Well, for a long time. I mean, obviously I haven't done it now in a while, but. And they have reasonably big slices, and what they do is they'll, like, if you order them by the slice, you know what I mean? Then you're ordering like a pretty big slice. Like there's even a place around the corner from where I live. It's called Angelo's. If you go there, they have pretty big slices, like maybe 12 to 14-inch or so. You know what I mean? It's something like that. But there's certain places that specialize and do things purposely that are a little outrageous. just so they can, you know what I mean? It's a selling point. And if it's good on top of that, then yeah. You know, so I'm pretty sure if you like the pizza, if it tastes great, then, you know what I mean? I guess it served a purpose. You know what I mean? Breakfast, lunch, and dinner for you.
Yeah, I mean, while we're on the topic of pizza, I'm gonna put it out there that Uno is not that good, Eddie.
You don't like it?
I don't think it's too good.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I feel like if it depends on what you get in these places. Like for me, I honestly didn't think it was that great the first time I had it, but it was also what I got. And then when I actually went and got like a specific piece, I can't remember what it was, I actually liked it. You know what I mean? But like those places, you have to find something that you like on the menu and then, you know, go from there. But I mean, I don't blame you for saying what you're saying about Uno. I mean, it's, you know what I'm saying? I guess it could be met depending on who you are and depending on what you order. You know what I'm saying? What I ordered, I really liked.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But that was it. So I can't say that you're wrong about that at all.
Okay. Well, anyways, moving on from the pizza talk. Back onto the boxing. Let's go to the news now. One fight has been announced. Top Rank have announced for February 20th, a world title fight between Miguel Berchelt. He's defending his super featherweight world title against former featherweight world champion Oscar Valdez. I mean, boy, oh boy, oh boy. Most people would favor Miguel Berchelt to win that one, but Oscar Valdez only knows one way to fight, and it's called being hit while hitting. So he doesn't hit and not get hit. He hits and gets hit. So it's going to be an action-packed fight, you'd imagine there. His defense is, he blocks punches with his face. Over here in the UK, we've hit some bad times because there was a lot of spikes in reported coronavirus cases and stuff like that around about the new year, because some people decided to still have parties and stuff like that. The amount of cases has spiked up. So off the back of that, the British Boxing Board of Control decided to suspend all fights that were scheduled for January. Now, there wasn't too much actually scheduled for January, so initially everyone was thinking, okay, what does that really mean? You know, when's the next big fight night anyway? Well, January the 30th, we were supposed to be getting Josh Kelly against David Avanesian. Obviously, that one's off, and it's a big shame because they've been trying to get that fight on for well over a year. It's about the third or fourth time that the fight has fallen through, including the first time ever when it actually fell through on the day of the fight. So it just seems like this fight is not supposed to happen. But they're saying they're going to reschedule it, Matchroom, but of course no date just yet. And MTK, they had to cancel one of their events as well. Lee McGregor was set to take on Kareem Guerfi. That one again will be rescheduled at some point. I think it's going to be for the European title, I believe. So bad news for the UK, and no real update on what's going to be happening in February just yet, because they're saying because this announcement from the British Boxing Board of Control, they said no boxing and all that, and that was before the Prime Minister came out and said that there's going to be a real strict lockdown again, just like the one that they enforced in March, when it was really the worst lockdown of them all, where it was very serious. And at the minute over here, Eddie, you can only leave your house for about, I think, 1 hour exercise a day, and only go out for real genuine essential journeys. So the British Boxing Board of Control, before they even made this announcement, already suspended events for January. Then the next day, the Prime Minister, came out, made this announcement that everything's going to be in lockdown until about mid-February. And I hope I'm wrong, but I can see the British Boxing Board of Control coming out again and trying to look good again in the eyes of the government and saying, actually, we're going to suspend events for February too, which is a real shame, because I don't think it's public knowledge yet, but there's 2 world title events supposed to be taking place in the UK. That they can't give dates for at the minute until they know what's happening, and it involves fighters on both those fights. It involves fighters from overseas. So, yeah, it's a very tricky situation, especially for the guys overseas coming over here. I don't know how it's going to work, but hopefully we get to see boxing back on, because at the minute all we have is international fights, and sometimes it's a nightmare staying up till really late unless the Zone do what they did on the weekend with Campbell and Garcia, which was really nice. Thank God for that. Anyway, that's it for the news. The final thing to do now, before we wrap up part one, is to welcome our sole guest, which, as I said, is the former IBF Super-Middleweight World Champion, Mr. Caleb Truax. After that, we will have the Lockdown Knockdown segment returning for the first time since October. But like I say, here is our sole guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBF Super-Middleweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Caleb Truax. Caleb, welcome back on the show, my friend, and Happy New Year, of course.
Happy New Year, man. Thanks for having me back, man. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure from my end also. So, Caleb, we last did an interview in January of 2019, so 2 years ago now. It was just before the fight against Peter Quillin, which obviously ended in a no contest. You were cut. How long did that cut take to fully heal, Caleb, by the way?
It was a pretty bad cut. I think I had 18 stitches total, 14 on the exterior, 4 on the interior. But the doctors did a great job stitching it up, and you can barely even tell I had a cut right now. But it didn't take too long to heal. But the problem was my Achilles was messed up, so that took about almost 9 months to heal. So I couldn't really do much boxing in that 9 months, and that was plenty of time for the cut to heal up properly.
And of course, you only had the one fight since then. It was in January of 2020, so again, a year ago now, against a guy who I kind of struggled to pronounce his surname. But you picked up the win that night. He's a tough guy. It was by majority decision. It went the distance. Tell us about that fight for those in the UK that didn't get to see it, Caleb.
Yeah, it was kind of a get-back fight for me. I was like you said before, I had the 2 rounds against Quillin, and that was it for 2019. And I fought, his name's David Bassa something. I can't pronounce his name either. But it was good to get back in the ring and test my Achilles out. It was the first time fighting after having suffered the torn Achilles. And I had to shake off a lot of rust and didn't have my greatest performance, but got the win and got out of there and proved to myself that my Achilles was healthy and gave me confidence going forward.
And again, as we say, you only had the one fight in 2020 in January. Did you have any scheduled fights collapse due to coronavirus at all? I was looking to fight in May.
It was going to be an IBF eliminator. It wasn't scheduled yet, but they were pretty much set on having me fight in May, and obviously that was scrapped due to COVID. And I was supposed to fight Alfredo Angulo in August, and unfortunately had to withdraw from that fight. And so I've had a sketchy couple of years, man. It's tough. I'm chomping at the bit to get back in the ring and punch somebody.
And again, when we last spoke, funnily enough, at that time I mentioned the possible Caleb versus Caleb fight. It's finally happening here in 2021. The fight's set for the 30th of this month in LA. What should fans expect to see from you, Caleb, for those that haven't seen you in a while, like you said?
Like I said before, I'm hungry, man. I'm chomping to get back in the ring and prove that I still belong in the upper echelon of the super middleweight division. And I want my title back. Plant has the IBF title that I won over in the UK from DeGale, and I want to be a 2-time champion. I want it back, and he's the man that's standing in my way. So I'm gonna do everything I can to get that belt back and go out there and get the win.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, and as you know, it was a pleasure to be ringside when you came over here and beat DeGale. What are your thoughts on Caleb Plant as a champion? Because there's been some times in his career where some people would say he hasn't looked that impressive, but then there's been other times he's looked really good. And with all that said, I still kind of think he's probably the most unproven of the champions or the recent former champions, because I'd say, in my opinion, Billy Joe Saunders, David Benavidez, Callum Smith, and obviously Canelo, for me, have got better resumes than Caleb Plant.
Yeah, he's got really good boxing skill. He's got really good speed, footwork balance. He's got a good jab, and he's got the tools. But like you said, he hasn't really fought anyone. He's fought Jose Uzcategui and won the belt from him, and that was a good win. Jose Uzcategui is a good puncher, and he had some good wins on his resume, so that was a good win in winning the title. But since then, he's fought two guys that were kind of layups, and doesn't really have that great of a resume. And I believe I'm the best fighter that he will have faced, and I'm planning on giving him his toughest challenge and his first loss.
And I want to ask you as well, I'm sure you watched it, what did you make of Callum Smith versus Canelo? Some boxing fans now think that Smith is trash now, but what did you make of it?
You know what, man? Canelo is a really, really good fighter, and Callum Smith is a really, really good fighter. He's a huge super middleweight. He's a good puncher, and Canelo completely negated everything that he brings to the table, and it was a fantastic performance by Canelo. I give Callum Smith credit because he took a beating for 12 rounds and hung in there. He could have cashed out and got his check and got out of town, but he had some strength to last the 12 rounds, and I give him credit for that. But yeah, I think it was more about Canelo than Callum Smith, and I've seen Smith fight 3 or 4 or 5 times, and he's a good fighter. I saw him beat George Groves, which was a very impressive win. He didn't look very good against I forgot what the guy's name was. It was in the Super 6 series before he fought George Groves. He didn't look great. Yeah, the kickboxer. He didn't look great against him, and I thought John Ryder probably deserved to beat him when he fought John Ryder. But he was the top dog in the super middleweight division. He's a Ring Magazine champion. I think he was the WBC champion as well. Or no, the WBA champion. And he was the top dog, and Canelo made him look silly. I think it was more about Canelo than it was about Callum Smith.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I'm asking this one because I'm guessing you probably saw this as well. Did you happen to see the little... Well, they say he's an Instagram boxer, but after the weekend just gone, I don't think he is anymore. Brilliant win for Ryan Garcia. What'd you make of him, man?
I thought that was a fantastic win for him. He like you said, he's kind of been labeled a flash in the pan Instagram boxer, and I kind of fell victim to that thinking earlier on. And his last couple wins, I was like, oh man, maybe this kid can actually fight. He's more than just a pretty boy and a IG model type dude. And when the fight was scheduled with Luke Campbell, I was like, man, congrats to both these guys for making the fight happen. That's a tough fight for both of them. And the way that fight played out, I don't think couldn't have went any better for Ryan Garcia to prove some of his naysayers wrong, because he got dropped. Luke Campbell's a hell of a fighter. He's been in there with Lomachenko and some other awesome guys, and he dropped him hard in the second round, and Garcia got up and weathered the storm and proved to everybody that he's a legit fighter, and he's going to be a force to reckon with at 135, I think.
Yeah, it's very exciting to see what happens next for him. And obviously the aim for you, Caleb, is to beat Caleb Plant and regain your old belt, like you said. What would be your next move? I don't want you to look too far ahead, but I'm guessing he's probably got a rematch clause in there, to be honest with you. But what's the plan?
The plan is just to focus 100% on this next fight coming up January 30th and get the win and see what happens after that. He's going to want his rematch, obviously, but we'll see how everything plays out. And it's a division that now that Canelo's committed to the 168 division, it obviously there's a lot more appeal to owning a belt in that division, because Canelo's the the money man in the sport, and everybody wants a shot at him. So just have to see how this plays out, and I don't want to make the mistake of looking past Caleb Plant to focus on somebody else. I think he's probably making that mistake from some of the interviews that I've seen and some of the comments about him fighting Canelo next. And I've seen that happen before. James DeGale made that mistake against me the first time around, and he was talking about everybody but me, even at the press conference, a couple of days before the fight. So that's a mistake that I'll never make as a fighter.
Brilliant words, man. And I want to ask you this as well. Obviously, lockdown has been, the pandemic has been very challenging for everyone. You have always said it whenever we speak. You've got quite an interesting life outside of the ring. Have you still been able to fish and brew beer and stuff like that?
Absolutely, man. I was just saying this in the interview the other day that I'd be lying if I said the pandemic was super hard on me. Because I got to spend a lot more time with my family. I got to stay outside, did a lot of gardening, did a lot of fishing, just hanging out outside, man. So there's a lot of people that lost their jobs, couldn't make their money, lost their businesses, and I don't want to take away from any of their struggles by saying it was hard on me, because it wasn't, man. I'm fortunate and I got to spend a lot of time with my kids and just do some things that I enjoy doing. All the while, being able to do what I love as far as boxing goes and working out. We had closures with gyms and couldn't do the normal workouts that I normally do, but I'm always staying busy and doing my road work and chopping wood and getting to the gym when I could. So it wasn't too bad for me, man.
And just finally, Caleb, if you've got any closing words, mainly for your UK supporters, obviously when you came over here you were adored. You were somewhat of a bit of a cult hero for a while in those fights with James DeGale. What's your message to your supporters from this side of the water, my friend?
Man, I still appreciate everybody over there that's following me. I'm hoping to get back over to the UK to get a fight in before my career is said and done. And you guys are awesome, great boxing fans. I love the energy that you guys brought to the arena and are still bringing to the arena with some of the big fights. Now you guys can't have too many fans in the arena, but hoping to get back over there and fight. And my beer actually just 8-count IPA just hit the UK shore. So I've been seeing a couple of people tweet me that they've been drinking my beer over there in the UK. So that's cool to see. But love you guys, and you guys are the best boxing fans in the world, and we appreciate you over here in the United States, that's for sure.
And there we have it, 8-count IPA. That's something I've got to get my hands on over here for sure. But listen, Caleb, it's always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. Best of luck for the 30th, and I hope that we can catch up sometime after.
All right, thanks, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. The news part we did already, the review part we did already. There's nothing to preview whatsoever, so that is that won't be happening. And that's it. It leads us perfectly into the Lockdown Knockdown Eddie. We're going to go here, of course, to the fight after the Wladimir Klitschko defeat for the world titles in Germany. Right after that, because that fight obviously took place on the 20th of March 2010, you were back in the ring 11 months later against Deric Rossy, a man who you'd previously stopped in 7 rounds. However, this time he was able to go the distance over 12. Where will we be starting here?
Well, we'll start in the aftermath of the whole Wladimir Klitschko fight situation.
Okay, so let me just jump in and say, there's that famous interview that you did in the locker room after the Klitschko defeat where you've got sunglasses on. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do.
And
hey, listen, I'm gonna tell you real quick, and I'm gonna let you finish what you were gonna say, but that was like, minutes after I walked into the locker room.
Yeah.
And I had literally just regained my memory as I was walking down the stairs of the ring. So that was fresh. My brain was fresh right then. I'm just letting you know. Like, I had literally just started remembering what was going on. You know what I mean? Like I remember walking down the steps and then walking, but I don't remember anything that happened in the ring previous to me coming down the steps. So that it was just a crazy experience. But go ahead, Joe.
No, so you've got those sunglasses on, and you're just devastated. Like as our listeners probably know, you come across so bubbly and happy and positive, and you really are that way. Obviously, I've been around you, for long enough. You're such a you're the kind of guy I could call up and say, "Oh man, I'm having a bad day. This." And even if you're having a bad day, you're not. I don't know, man. You're just positive. You wouldn't be like, "Well, man, I can't really hear this right now because I've got this, and this going on." You're great like that, man. So to see you so devastated, so just like, I don't know, man, so negative, I suppose is the word, is so kind of uncomfortable seeing you, of all people, like that. And it's sad. I showed a clip of it to my girlfriend, and she was like, she couldn't watch it. She was all getting like almost emotional, man. It's tough to watch.
Yeah, it's bad. It was like, I don't even remember what I was saying. I just remember, I remember talking, you know what I mean? I remember going to the press conference too after. And it was just like, ugh, you know what I mean? It was just like a constant memory. And let me tell you, are we starting? I just want to let you know, because this is part of the whole thing, just to let you know. Joe.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Oh, I'm saying, like, are we starting now? You want me to start?
Yeah, just go straight into it, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But, well, anyway, afterwards, the whole process, like with the interview, like we were just talking about, like, I remember talking. I don't really remember the questions. I just remember talking and just being completely like, wow, man, this is like almost like life was over. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never felt that kind of disappointment before. Like, I've been disappointed. I mean, obviously, when you're a kid and you don't get the Christmas gift you want, it sucks. But not this kind of disappointment. It is like where you put everything into it and it just didn't work out. It's just hard to be happy about anything after something like that. You know what I mean? So, I go into the press conference and everything, and I do the press conference, and it's the same kind of thing. Like, I really don't feel any positivity from this whole thing. You know what I mean? Even though they say, "Oh, you did this, you went 11 rounds, you made him have to work for it. He couldn't hit you like this. You got all that stuff is great." But with me coming out on the bad end, not only on the losing end, but being stopped for the first time, being on the ground for the first time and out, was like, I could have never have dreamed of that. And the disappointment from that on top of the loss, it was just like, man. So, I go from there. Now I actually had to go to the hospital, and I didn't have to go to the hospital. To be honest, if I didn't go to the hospital, it would have been fine. But I went to the hospital, because of she was the cut woman. She did the cuts for me. She said, "Look, I don't trust, being that you lost consciousness like that, no matter what the situation is, I feel like you should go to the hospital and be checked." So I said, "Hey, you know what? All right." And I thought it was just going to be maybe an hour or so.
I think you said this on the back of the Klitschko one, to be honest with you. This rings a bell.
I might have. I might have. Yeah, all right. I don't want to revisit it. But anyway, that happened. So, and maybe some of this is going to be, but it's okay if it's repetitive, whatever. We'll just keep going through it. But anyway, I just remember being in the hospital for 2 days. I only thought it was going to be a few hours. Turns out it was 2 days. And it was almost like a blur, those 2 days. It didn't really seem long at all. And they really, like, I think we talked about it, but they said I had issues with my heart, not so much with my head. So it was almost like they didn't even, think, anything was wrong with my head. They were more concerned about my irregular heartbeat. So anyway, once I left there, I remember, we were supposed to actually have 2 days, or I think 2 or 3 days left over that we were supposed to be, partying and enjoying ourselves and all of that. Obviously, we expected to win, and it just didn't happen. So we just had 2 days to basically sit there and just go over the crap that happened. Well, for me, it wasn't 2 days. Both 3 days. It was 2 days in the hospital, and then 1 day out. But I didn't even get to see some of the friends, some of the people I was supposed to see after. It was just kind of like a whole nightmare. So I get back home. Now, granted, this is the most money I've had in my entire life at one time. And, I'm not like a person that goes and spends money recklessly. So, but I did, I went out and got a couple things. I ate what I wanted. I didn't buy a new flashy car. I already had a decent car anyway. So I didn't go and buy another car or anything, buy a crazy house or anything. But, I just, I tried to enjoy myself as much as I could, but I found that most of the time I was just in the house, in the apartment, and just I couldn't smile like I used to do. And like when things were good, I wasn't, it was like I lost to Povetkin first. And it was like, oh man, that was a horrible thing, but I didn't get stopped. I was beating him early, and I could have won the fight if I would have just done some things. You know what I mean? But this time it was like I was beaten. Like I lost this, and there was no chance of me winning at any point. It felt like, of course everybody got a puncher's chance, but it was just like, it just felt like I was completely out of it, and I was beat soundly. Even if that wasn't 100% true, I was beat, and I knew I lost, and it just felt so uncomfortable, and just I was just so unhappy. Like we could be laughing about something completely unrelated to boxing, and I would laugh for a little bit, but then it would come to the thought process of, the whole thought of being in there and losing and not being on top no more, and not being one of those guys that they talk about anymore. And it was just like, it was a terrible, terrible time. Even though I had a lot of good things going on, it was a really, really bad time. And not to mention that I got my head knocked off when it comes to the payment after as well. Even though I had more money than I ever had, it was still far less than I should have. But it was just bad, man. It just felt like the world was coming down on me, and I just didn't have any answer for anything. I wasn't happy, and like I said, even though things were better financially, they weren't better in my head, So, and it legitimately took before, because I didn't even go into a boxing gym, to be honest. And Joe, how much I love basketball. So, I was playing a ton of basketball. And that was the only time that I forgot about what was happening with the fight. But when I come off the court and get back into my everyday, believe me, it came back, But anyway, it wasn't until like maybe, I want to say 6, 7, maybe 8 months after, when I started to focus on another fight that they were trying to get from me. And they were actually trying to get me into a tournament for another shot at Wladimir. So they say, oh, well, we got an opportunity coming, and it's going to be with one of your former foes, Deric Rossy. And I was like, oh, really? And they said it's going to be an eliminator tournament, for you to fight maybe Klitschko again if you're able to win these fights, which we know you are. And they said, okay, it's between you and Rossy, and there was another, I think it was Tony Thompson and Maurice Harris. Something happened, and I got a crazy idea. I guess somebody told me something or said something wrong, that the other fight wasn't happening, and it was just going to be me and Rossy for the eliminator. So I'm like, great. I beat him. I get an opportunity to get back in there and right this wrong that I had. Didn't turn out that way, but I'm not going to get that far ahead because we want to talk a little bit about what happened with the fight. But getting prepared for the Rossy fight after, going through the whole, depression after the loss of Wladimir, it wasn't really difficult to train hard. You know what I mean? Because in my mind, I had a certain way to be. Now I'm a championship level fighter. I should be training this way. I should be doing these types of things. So I was very disciplined even on my own. And, I've been a while without my dad. Rob has been training, my manager had been training me up for a while now. So we kind of had an idea of what to do and how to get prepared for a fight. And this wasn't what I'd been used to facing in the last few. Obviously I had 3 fights in a row that were guys that were in the top 5 in the world. You know what I mean? So I was like, so I had I didn't want to have like a letdown in preparation just because I thought maybe I'm fighting somebody that I'm well above. And I had beaten them before, so you don't want to get the wrong idea and the wrong attitude toward a fighter, no matter what the situation is. And we had understood that Rossy had gotten better. You know what I mean? Because at the time I fought Rossy the first time, he was like a football player turned boxer, right? But he didn't have a whole hell of a lot of experience. He had 15 pro fights, and he had I think he had a small amateur background defending, and he could still, there was some immaturity with his style and the way he fought when we fought the first time. This time he was saying he had got, good rounds of sparring with Tomas Adamek and different guys, and he felt like he was doing real well with Tomas in sparring. So he had a different level of confidence. So he's a rejuvenated guy. Now, of course, all fighters, when they fight a guy a second time, expect and they want to say, oh, I got a renewed confidence. I did this and different, and things are going to be so different, dramatically different. Well, in this case, yes, it was going to be dramatically different for him in a sense that he understood more as a fighter now how to deal with a guy who is an elite professional better than he did the first time. The first time he was just, I'm coming for blood. I'm going to try to knock this guy out, not understanding there was a light year skill gap between us. And he just he couldn't overcome it with size and strength, you know what I mean, which he thought he had over me. So this time he felt, okay, I added enough skill along with size and strength that I'm going to be able to overcome this, this guy and the skill gap that we had in the past. So my whole thing was just to make him remember how it was to get beat by a guy with, skills way above his. But also, being that I had certain expectations of what I was going to do in the ring, my preparation, and I know it's going to sound like kind of crazy, but my preparation failed in a way because I was preparing really hard. I was getting in shape and all that. I was doing everything I had to do. The sparring, I can't remember everyone I had for sparring, but I don't think the sparring was crazy good or up to par necessarily. But it was part of it was because we honestly didn't have the budget for it, even though I had the money, and I don't want to use the money that I got, in the bank for that. I want to use the money that we're supposed to be getting to assist us. You know what I mean? In a way, like you take a certain percentage of that. But like I said, once again, this is where the business comes in too, is the fight, even though it was an eliminator, it was off TV on the undercard of, I think a Super 6 fight, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember for sure. But there was no budget. So we had to basically do everything on our own and just make deals with friends that we knew through boxing. So sparring was kind of lacking. So what I tried to do was make up for it by conditioning. And once again, we talked about this, in some of my previous fights, I had overdid it. And once again, because now I'm thinking, man, I got to get back to Klitschko level. I gotta show these people that this guy doesn't stand a chance in here with me. I got to dominate him like as if I wanted to fight Klitschko next, because that was what the plan was. So my dumb behind, training hard, doing everything I'm supposed to do. But we talking about the week of the fight, literally days before, a day or two before. No, a day before the weigh-in. I'm in the gym running, basically sprinting 3 miles. I'm running like 6-minute miles the entire time. And I think, most people when they get, in preparation as a heavyweight for a fight, I mean, you lose a certain amount of weight, but you kind of stabilize at a certain point. I was still losing weight the week of the fight. You know what I mean? Continuing to train hard, running hard. The only thing I wasn't doing the last few days was sparring. But I couldn't understand. I just wanted to look good. I wanted to be the best I could possibly be and really overshadow this guy and just like kind of make it just like where he doesn't even exist and get him out of there in no time. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted to do. Okay, but of course, when you over prepare yourself, you're definitely going to see a serious drop in performance. So what happens is I go and we're getting ready and we're walking in. I kind of felt a little weird the entire day, to be honest. Your fight day for me anyway is a day that I'm not eating a lot. I don't really feel in the mood to eat. And I was just kind of like trying to just keep myself calm and relaxed. But I had a weird feeling, an uneasy feeling, like kind of sluggish. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, man, not one of these fucking things again. You know what I mean? It was just like, man. So I'm thinking, okay, drink water, try to hydrate, get a little, eat some food light, do something to give you some energy. And I'm thinking maybe it's the jitters. It's gonna work itself out. And I remember being in this hallway where there's like where all of the fight people were, and we were about to step into the arena and go to our dressing rooms. And I just felt like, man, this shit's not letting up. You know what I mean? I really just don't feel good today. And I'm just hoping, as I get into there and start wrapping my hands and shadow box, I start to feel a little sharper, a little snappier, and it never came. And I remember being in a hallway, and I'm basically cursing myself out and cursing, and I'm just like, what the, on the ring walk. And this is on the ring walk, and I'm like, what is going on, man? Like, why the hell am I feeling like that? And I'm pissed off because I can't figure out what's wrong. And my brother knows, and we talking about it. And he's like, yo, man, just calm down, man. You're fine, man. Get in there. Yo, just walk him down. If you don't feel like, just walk him down. You know he can't fuck with you, man. Just walk him down. And I'm sitting there like, all right, man. I'm just gonna try it out. I'll probably feel a little better when I get in the ring. Didn't feel better when I got in the ring. I felt worse than I did the first time, and the first time I had the flu. You understand what I'm saying? The first time me and Rossy fought, I had the flu, and the first few minutes of that fight, I felt like, damn, man, because I just felt bad. But as I started to sweat out, like when you're cold, when you got a bit of a cold or flu or whatever, the more you do and you start to sweat it out, you start to feel a little bit better. And that's what happened in the first fight. With this fight, it just felt like nothing. Like I had no snap, I had no nothing, no energy. It was just like ugh. And I got in the ring, and I'm like, man, I gotta fight a guy with this feeling like this, possibly 12 rounds. I'm like, man, I gotta get this guy out of here. And I remember the first round, I could barely throw any real punches, man. It was just like you wouldn't have known by looking at it, but there was no movement, there was no hop in my step. I don't, if you watched, you could tell, but it was just very blah. Everything that I felt like I threw, he was actually like working not outboxing me, but he was definitely boxing and he was moving. You know what I mean? And I was being aggressive. I was walking him down, and because obviously that's all I could do. And we had talked about it a little bit, and I was like, damn, man, I got to start feeling better. I got to find a way to find it. You know what I mean? I got to find something. And I remember going back to the corner, and my manager, my trainer at the time, come on, man, you got to fight this guy. You know what you got to do. This guy ain't supposed to be in the ring with you, man. You supposed, and he's trying to motivate me, and it just wasn't happening. And I remember him, and Steve told me after the fight, he was like, man, you had them over there sweating bullets. I mean, they was dropping bricks, man. They couldn't understand. Like, they was looking at me and asking me, like, man, when is this guy gonna start fighting? And when I was in there, I was thinking to myself, like, I got to do something. So what happened was, over the course of the first 2 or 3 rounds, I would say he got 2 out of the first 3 rounds, maybe more. Maybe he even got the third, which I know sounds bad. At least that's how I felt. I don't know if that was 100% true. I can't remember. I got to watch it back. But by the end of the third round, I could see him starting to weaken. And the reason was I was still hitting him. I was still landing shots to the body. I was constantly pressuring. And if you don't notice, if you've never fought before, or you've never competed at that kind of a level in boxing or in any kind of combat sport, or boxing in particular, when you see a guy pressuring you and you, for whatever reason, can't do anything to keep him off you, it feels like a wall is closing in on you. It's slowly closing in. And no matter how much you push it back, it's going to keep coming. So if you can do whatever you want. You can run and jump into it, and the wall is just going to keep on coming. And that's what he started to see. And that's why his performance started to drop real fast. At first, he was looking all right. He was kind of sharp at times, throwing good shots. By the end of the third round, he didn't see a return on his investment, on his boxing that he was doing. And all he saw was me to continue to pressure him. Then I started to feel a tiny bit better. I started rocking off shots and counter right-handing them and throwing little shots to the body, double jab and right-handing them and stuff like that, keeping him on the defensive. And by the 4th and 5th round, he had basically was sliding down the ropes, going from post to post, just trying to find a place to rest. You know what I'm saying? Because it was just pressure and pressure that pressure. He couldn't figure out how to get out of it. And I thought, as in those rounds, I started to realize, okay, this is how I'm going to get him. And then I figured it was only a matter of time before I stopped him. Then, and if I'm not mistaken, the 5th or the 6th round, he had threw somewhat of a lazy jab and caught nothing but air, and I rocked off it, hit him with a counter right hand, dropped him easy. Boom. Went straight down. At this point, I'm like relieved. I'm like, cool, because I'm about to get this guy out of there. Then I ain't got to go the rest of these rounds feeling like crap. And he went down. He went down good. It was a good shot. It was something like he was kind of shocked. Oh, shit. And he got up. But this is where the experience for him came in. He got up, and he held a little bit. He moved a little bit. He wasn't, like going all over the place, but he figured out a way to survive. And me, I wasn't feeling my best, obviously, because if I would have been feeling even half of myself, I'd have got him out of there. But the reality of it is, I didn't have it. Even when I was sick, I had more energy than I had then. You know what I mean? So he figured it out, and this is the experience. And this is what happens when you fought numerous times. You faced adversity at different points. Get better at dealing with them, even when you know there's no chance of you winning, which he realized after that knockdown and just in general in the fight. He still figured out a way. I'm not going to get stopped tonight. So that was his mission. And I mean, I caught him with some good shots. I had him going at different times in the fight, different rounds. But he survived. He did what he had to do. He pity-patted his way to a decision loss. But that goes to say also what kind of I was saying about myself. Like even there was a post-fight interview, and I remember the guy coming up to me, and I was just like, I was so disappointed in myself. Like I was thinking of different guys who were in the heavyweight division. I was like, damn, if I fought them tonight, I would have got beat. Like I would have been, you know what I mean? Like if I fought Wladimir, I think I mentioned David Hay. I think even Tarver at that point was, I think, heavyweight or something. And I was like, man, I'll probably get beat by all of these dudes. That was just what was in my head because I had wanted to be so much better, especially with the loss to Wladimir. Like, you have to improve. There's no way that I'm going to be able to beat elites having a hard time with Deric Rossy. No disrespect to him. But I also didn't realize what percentage of myself was in the fight. And it was probably... And I'm not capping. I'm not, I'm not lying in any way about this. But it was probably 10% of what I actually have or had at that time in the tank that I was actually using in that fight. 10%, maybe 20. And I was still able to win, but it was like, man, it just felt like I was in a bad spot, man. And it didn't help that I just came out of that depression from Wladimir. You know what I'm saying? To come and have a performance that I felt was bad, and then to get almost no money for it. It was just like, man, insult to injury all over again. You know what I mean? So it was a rough year. 2010. You know what I mean? Obviously started off well with a bang with, fighting, getting an opportunity to fight for the title and all, but with the loss, and then at the end, and then going into 2011, and the first fight I have back from the loss was a fight that I definitely felt like I could have been so much better with. It just didn't work. It just wasn't really it wasn't a good situation. I just wasn't happy with boxing or myself at that time, and I don't know. I needed something to get me back into the good graces of boxing and to have that the rejuvenated energy and my to see the light at the end of the tunnel, which I just didn't have at the time. You know what I mean? And I guess fighters go through it. Some of the greatest fighters have gone through it. But I mean, I don't know if that was the point, that the turning point in my career, which then it just kind of went downhill after, because I feel like I still had great performances and great boxing left, after that, but it just never got back to where I really wanted it to be.
And obviously it's an interesting point that we're on now, because, you come off that Wladimir fight, you go the distance with Rossy, which obviously was 11 months out the ring as well, we should add. And then next time, I guess, we'll be covering the Thomas Adamek fight, which I know is another painful one in more ways than one for you. And where is the point where you meet your now wife? Is it after the Rossy fight or is it after the Adamek fight?
It was after the Rossy fight, before the Adamek fight.
Okay.
I actually met her, and don't laugh, via internet.
We don't need to go into that. No.
But I'm gonna say it. The reason why I'm gonna say it is because a lot of people, they look at that and man, that's bad. And it is most of the time, but you never know who you're gonna meet, in any situation. So if you kind of just say, "Oh man, I ain't doing that. That's for losers," or that it never works, and it's like, yo, you try it, you never know what might happen. I met my wife on there. It's the way it is. But anyway, it was right before it was literally right before the Tomas fight. Like, we had a date scheduled for after I beat Tom. I say I beat after that for one-on-one when I beat Tomas.
Yeah,
I swear to God, it was for. I think we were probably talk about the end of June to maybe even into July, just to be safe.
Do you remember?
But that was anyway.
Do you remember where the date was scheduled for?
Yes, sir. I don't even remember the movie we went to see. We had like a dinner and a movie type thing. No bullshit. It was we went to TGI Fridays. Sounds like a cheap spot to be, but I mean, I didn't know her at the time, so I'm not, I'm not going.
You ain't putting your hand deep. You're not putting your hands deep in the pockets at that point.
Why would I do that? And it's not even that. It's not so much that. And I mean, for her too, it's like, this is a courting process. We just getting to know each other. We don't even know what's going on. What the other person has, going on in their life. So, but we went that, and then we went to see, don't laugh, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I swear to God, I could not make this up.
I've never even heard of that film, Eddie.
Good. But no, actually, that's not a bad movie, though. Okay. To me, it's not. But, my taste in movies, how I am. I like all kind of movies, even B movies, so whatever. But it was, we went to go see that. She even still has recordings from me, sending messages and shit to her. I just wish she'd delete them, but whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, it was around that time, so yeah.
Well, there we have it, man. It's been 10 years since then. It's going to be 10 years next month since the Rossy fight. So, but anyways, so next time, which I think, to be honest, Eddie, will probably be next week. If you're going to do the podcast with me again next week, then that's it. It will be the Thomas Adamek fight, which obviously is it's a brilliant fight to watch.
Right.
And we'll get into it. But anyway, that's it. So next time, Adamek, go on.
Yeah, what I was gonna say. Well, things leading up to Adamek, there was actually a couple of interesting turns, but those aren't gonna take long to go through. But so we'll actually get into like you said, it was a brilliant fight, but the camp was brilliant. Everything about that fight. I actually trained at Kronk for that show.
Okay.
Excuse me. We'll definitely get into that next week.
There you have it. There's a little spoiler for next week's show. It will be interesting, and it's a great fight. If you haven't seen it, it's there in good quality on YouTube. If you fancy watching it before next week, so you know what we're talking about, perhaps you can try and do that if you like. But anyway, that's it for all the talking. We've done the review part, we did the news, we brought in our sole guest, the former IBF Super-Middleweight world champion Caleb Truax, and there we've kicked off 2021 with another edition of Eddie's very own segment on this show. That is why he's here. Initially, when I said, okay, let's start doing podcasts together, he said, I'm only doing it if I get my own segment. But I'm playing. But I haven't given him too many opportunities to take center stage and take it away and walk us down memory lane and tell us all about the details behind all these events that of course took place. But it's because there's been so much going on. It's been so busy. We haven't had time. But there we go. We've kicked off 2021 with another edition. Next week we'll be back with another edition, and we'll see how long it goes on for. And it'll be great when we start getting to the time when Eddie came over to the UK and met a really nice guy from London. Yeah. Anyway, I wonder who that was.
I wonder what his name was.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah,
who it
me
was.
too. I don't know who it was.
Oh, you know why? Maybe because you forget the people that's closest to you. So yeah. You know, I forgot. I don't even know where he is right now.
Hope he's doing well. Anyways.
Yeah, me too.
Anyways, that's it for this week's show. I'm going to come in with the outro in just a few seconds. But Eddie, if you want to say the final word, man, thanks again. Thanks for joining me. And starting off 2021 with a bang, like you said earlier.
No doubt about it, man. Big things to come in 2021. Hopefully some good things for, everyone. You know what I mean? Which would be this whole coronavirus thing kind of coming to a screeching halt. That would be the best bit for everyone. You know what I mean? That's something to focus on. But as far as boxing, just to continue to take it to the next level, and of course for this podcast and other things that we're involved in to continue to get better and prosper for the future. That's what we need.
That is what we need. Well said, Eddie. Like I say, the outro, I'll bring the outro in just a few seconds. Thank you all for listening this far. Okay, and this wraps up episode 273 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A massive thank you to our sole guest on this week's podcast, the former IBF Super-Middleweight World Champion Caleb Truax. Best of luck to him for the 30th in his quest to become a two-time world champion. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. Remember to leave us a review on iTunes if you do get the chance. Remember to send in your quiz questions for Eddie. I think he's been getting it a bit too easy for the last few weeks. Send those quiz questions in. Doesn't matter how difficult they are. But that's about everything from myself. Try your best to enjoy your weekends, people. Above all, stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week. Thanks for listening.